Author Debbie Jordan is with us right now. The World I Imagine. And Debbie, what is the world you imagine? I know ending poverty and building peace, that's a pretty grand mission, isn't it, Debbie?
Exactly. But, you know, every change in society, every development in our history has started with a dream. With an idea, and we've got to start talking about it, and this is why I just started putting my ideas down, formulating them.
Now, journalism and writing is your background, somewhat.
Exact. I keep falling into it.
Okay, what inspired this particular piece? Other than the world's falling apart at the seams,
exactly.
But having said that, what inspired this?
Exactly. Well, it's just, I've always been the person who looked at things and said, you know, we could do things a little different and do better.
Okay.
For one thing, one element of this book is that I have a lot of cross-references. A lot of people, well, people tend to get into categories and work on certain areas. And one of the purposes in this that I wanted to put across is that all of the different works that are being done actually work together, and we do need cooperation. For instance, people who are working in education, people who are working in employment, people who are working in healthcare, all of these and so many more, green jobs, fighting global warming, all of these work together. We cannot put more emphasis on one than we do the other.
But with so much diversification in the world today, how do we bring about that peace? How do you bring a meeting of the minds together? What is your thought on that?
Well, again, as I wrote here, it's going to, first of all, I talk about a grassroots approach to governing, because we govern from the top down. And this always ends up with all these groups. We end up with everything from communities up to nations who seem at odds with each other.
So you don't think we should govern top down? How do you think we should govern?
Well, in the first place, having one person in charge is one of the problems, because when one person ends up having that particular philosophy
but our government is built on a collective thinking, though, Debbie. Our government's
it is, but it ends up with someone at the top who ends up dictating a lot, and the parties in power and such.
Let's be specific. Let's take health care first. Let's talk about just one issue. Let's take health care.
All right.
Okay, let's take health care.
Let's start with the fact that we have to have health care services for everyone according to their need, and it's an element of a free society, because without health care when one needs it, then once if they get it, later on, it's going to be much more expensive.
Are you for government health care then? A government health care program, running health care?
I'm for an organized health care that should start at the community level. And communities should be cooperating between each other in order to help spread this. So most people think of it from the top down, being dictated. Again, top down. But in that way, we always end up with people in the various communities who fall through the cracks.
Okay, you're speaking of 300 and 600,000, ever how many people in the United States, somebody's going to fall through the cracks. You say there's 3 buzzwords out there when we talk politically and society. There's 3 buzzwords.
Let me see if I can remember them now.
I can, go ahead. Holistic.
We want to approach things in a holistic manner. In other words, taking care of things as they fit as a whole.
Okay.
And then
systematic.
Systematic. We want to do things in an organized fashion so that, again, we stop having people fall through the cracks, so that individual needs are addressed in every community. And then, thank you.
Systemic.
And systemic. This is, again, the bottom up. We have to approach these things from the
What do you think our
level.
current administration is doing? Do you think they are working in that area? What do you think President Obama, how do you think he's approaching this?
President Obama is hopeful, but there's still a lot of that's needed in the community levels.
Oh, Debbie, you're saying what we need, but how do you get it accomplished?
Again, go back to the communities. Remember, bringing up President Obama.
Well, let's just take this community, for instance, Prescott. How would you handle it in Prescott, Arizona?
In any community, we should emphasize what people can do, what every citizen can do, a little bit or a lot. Look at the people who are doing charity work. Look at the people who are in government offices that their job is to push people through all the red tape and see as much as who they are not going to serve as who they are going to serve. Why not give the communities the resources to be able to allow these people to do these things effectively?
Resources. What kind of resources?
Okay, we have them all. Take food, for example.
Okay,
I mean, this has always been said about hunger. There is enough food in the world. It is a matter of distribution.
Right. Okay. I do believe that. I concur with that.
That's
yes.
it. And it's actually the same with human power. This is what we have. We have human power and we are not using it. Look at the people who are unemployed. That right there is a great resource that's being wasted.
Who's going to distribute this, though? Would be my question as well, Debbie. Who's going to distribute it? Are you talking about government being in charge of all this?
Okay. In the first place, again, this is a very complicated book, as small as it is. And one aspect of it is that distribution should begin again at the community level and shared between communities to start with, in order to share resources. One community might have more of one resources that they can trade with another community that has more of the resources.
You see more of a cooperative effort here,
yes.
As I'm sensing where you're going. Let's take unemployment, since that is #1 right now in our nation today. What do we do with our unemployed people?
Put them to work in the communities to start with.
At no pay?
At pay. From the community. Now, and here's another thing. The taxes right now, the majority of them go to the top and then trickle down and keep getting more taken away as it goes down. And by the time it reaches the community where it started from, there's much less for them to work with. What if the taxes started at the bottom and moved
Explain taxes starting at the bottom. You're losing me.
The taxes that we pay right now to the federal government, what if we paid them in the community?
So pay us first.
Pay us first.
And then pay federal government.
And then the community can use what it needs and then pay up.
As we said, a wonderful...
That's a pretty good idea, I have to admit, Debbie.
It all works.
That's a darn good idea.
A wonderful mission if we can get it accomplished.
Again,
the name of the book is The World I Imagine. The author is Debbie Jordan. She has been our guest here on AM Arizona. How do they get a hold of the book, Debbie?
It's on all the online bookshops, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and they can check on my website, www.imaginetheworldatpeace.com.
Thank you, Debbie. When we come back, do you have those bad hair days? Well, how would you like to have every day a good hair day? We're going to show you how.